today we'll talk about the brainstem. Okay, brainstem से पहले we are just going to talk about the parts of the brain. Okay, if you have a look over the brain, so it's the upper expanded part, this one, and this is called as the cerebral hemispheres, or these are also called the forebrain. Okay, the upper expanded part of the brain, that is called the forebrain, right? This forebrain developmentally is also called as the prosencephalon. It has got the two parts, the expanded part and the central core matter. The upper expanded part, this is called as the cerebral hemisphere or the cerebrum, and the core matter, that is called as the diencephalon, okay, or the the upper expanded part, that is called as the telencephalon, and the central core area, that is called as the diencephalon, right? Now this forebrain, it is going to be connected with the hindbrain with the small tube-like structure, and this is called as the midbrain. Midbrain is also called as the mesencephalon, right? Mesos means the middle and the cephalon means the brain. So middle brain, which is basically going to connect the forebrain with the hindbrain. Hindbrain, it consists of the three parts. The one is the pons. This one is the pons. Other one is the medulla oblongata, and the third one is the cerebellum. Pons and the cerebellum, they are collectively called as the metencephalon, and the medulla oblongata, it is called as the myelencephalon, right? Okay, now we'll talk about the brainstem. Brainstem is basically a stalk-like structure. It's just a, it's just stalk or the stem-like structure basically, which is connecting the forebrain with the spinal cord. As you know, as we know that this medulla oblongata, it is going to be continuous with the spinal cord, right? So this brainstem, it's basically a connection between the forebrain and the spinal cord. Okay. Now this brainstem, it has got the three parts. The upper one is a midbrain. The middle one, this is a pons, right? This is a midbrain, and this is a pons, and the lower one is a medulla oblongata, right? This midbrain part, it is basically related with your audio and the visual reflexes area, right? आपके जो audio and visual reflexes हैं इनको control करते हैं. उसके बाद we have got the other one, the pons. In the pons, it contains basically of the nuclei of the 5th, 6th, 7th, and the 8th cranial nerve nuclei, and it is responsible for your sensory area of your face and your facial muscles, right? And also, okay, the medulla oblongata, it is having your major, autonomic areas, like your respiratory center, your CVS center, right? So it is related with your breathing. It controls your breathing, your heart rate, and the blood pressure, and also it contains the area for the vomiting. So autonomic areas, it is responsible for your vital functions, okay, for controlling your vital functions. Okay, first of all, we'll talk about the medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata, it is a bulb-shaped structure. It's a long bulb-shaped structure which is forming the lower part of the brainstem. Okay, medulla oblongata, its length is about 3 centimeters and width is about 2 centimeters. It is conical in shape, or the bulb shape. It means that it is expanded on the upper aspect and it tapers down inferiorly, where it is going to be continuous with the spinal cord through the foramen magnum. Okay, now medulla oblongata, it has got the connections. Spherically, it is connected by the pons, and inferiorly it is going to be continuous with the spinal cord, and postero-inferiorly it is going to be continuous with the cerebellum, right? It is the connection with the cerebellum through the inferior cerebellar peduncle. Medulla oblongata, it is located in the posterior cranial fossa, and it is lying against the clivus of the skull. You can see this is the skull bone, and this is the clivus, or the basio-occipital part of the bone, along which, against which it lies like this, right? So as you can see, this is the anterior surface of the medulla. It is lying against the clivus, right? And posteriorly, of course, it is going to be related with the cerebellum. Okay. Now, as far as its gross appearance is concerned, this has got the anterior surface and the posterior surface. The anterior surface, if you have a look over the anterior surface, there is the midline fissure, right? And this is called the anterior median fissure, which is continuous with the anterior median fissures of the spinal cord, right? And it lodges what? It lodges the anterior spinal artery with the fold of the pia mater in it, right? On the both sides of this anterior median fissure, there is an, elevation, right? There is an elevation, the longitudinal elevation, right? And this longitudinal elevation, it is called as a pyramid, right? This pyramid elevation, it is basically formed due to the fibers that are underneath it, that these are the corticonuclear fibers and the corticospinal fibers, right? Corticospinal and the corticonuclear fibers. And this elevation, if you follow it downwards, it becomes tapering. It tapers inferiorly because the decussation of the fibers takes place. About 90% of the fibers in this, on the both sides of the pyramids, they are running downward and they are going to cross the midline. They have the decussation, and after decussation, they are going to the lateral white column. That's why they are becoming tapering in the lower part of the medulla oblongata, which is going to give us a bulb-shaped appearance. Okay. Now, just posterolateral to this elevation, that this pyramid ke just posterolateral, we have got this in oval elevation. You can see this over here. This oval elevation, this is called as the olive. This one. This oval elevation, and this is due to the presence of the underneath the nucleus that is called the inferior olivary nucleus lies behind it, right? There is a groove between the pyramid and the olive, and this groove, from this groove, the rootlets of the hypoglossal nerve, you can see over here, the hypoglossal nerve emerging from it. The rootlets of the hypoglossal nerve are emerging from here, right? Okay. After the olive, just posterior to olive, there is a rope-like bundle of the nerve fibers, right? And they are running towards the cerebellum, and this is called as the inferior cerebellar peduncle, right? It is also called as the restriform body because it's the specific shape of the rope-like. So the fibers are just rope-like, and they are going to enter into the into the cerebellum, and these are called as the inferior cerebellar peduncle. Between the olive and the inferior cerebellar peduncle, there is a groove from where your 9th, 10th, and the cranial part of your accessory nerve, the 11th cranial nerve, your cranial part, its rootlets are emerging from this groove, right? So this is all about your, okay, fine. Now here, I forgot to tell you one thing, that there is one point over here, that this anterior median fissure, it ends at the pontomedullary junction here. And here you can see there is a triangular depression in this region, and this is called as the foramen cecum. Okay? So foramen cecum we कहते हैं, इसे Schwab's foramen भी कहते हैं, right? So this is the place where your anterior median fissure is going to end over here. Okay, now we come to the posterior surface. If you have a look over the posterior surface, it is divided into two parts, the upper half and the lower half, right? The upper half, it is going to form the lower half of the floor of the fourth ventricle. As you can see, this is what is the fourth ventricle? It is a diamond-shaped or the tent-shaped cavity present on the dorsal aspect of the, pons and the medulla oblongata, right? Brainstem की cavity है. This is the fourth ventricle, which is found between the upper half is found behind on the posterior aspect of the pons, and the lower half is present over the which is contributed by the upper half of the posterior surface of the medulla oblongata, right? And the lower half, you can see over here, in the lower half you can see this sulcus over here, and this sulcus, it is called as a posterior median sulcus. Of course, it is going to be continuous with the posterior median sulcus of your spinal cord, right? On both sides of this sulcus, you can see there is an elongated elevation. This elongated elevation on both sides, and this is called as a gracile tubercle. This gracile tubercle, it is formed by the underlying two structures. Number one, the nucleus gracilis, and number two, the fasciculus gracilis, which is carrying the fiber from the lower half of the body, right? Which is basically carry the, sensations of proprioception and vibration, right? So the nucleus gracilis and the fasciculus gracilis is going to form this gracile tubercle. Just lateral to the gracile tubercle, there is an other elongated elevation, right? And this elongated elevation, this is called as the, the cuneate tubercle. And the cuneate tubercle, it is again formed by the two things, underlying two structures, the nucleus cuneatus and the fasciculus cuneatus. Okay. Now, if we talk about the upper half of the medulla oblongata, which is forming the floor of the fourth ventricle, so again you can see over here in the midline, this is the sulcus, this is called the median sulcus over here. This one is the median sulcus in this region. This median sulcus, you can see in this, model, the fibers which are not present over here, these are called the stria medullaris, right? These are the fibers which basically getting origin from the arcuate nuclei present in the floor of the fourth ventricle, and they will be running laterally, and they are going to enter into the inferior cerebellar peduncle and goes to the cerebellum. Just below the, in the, over here you can see, in the lower part of over here, just along the medial, sulcus, there is a triangular area, small triangular area over here behind it. This is called as the hypoglossal triangle. And this hypoglossal triangle, behind it lies the hypoglossal nucleus. Just lateral to this one, another triangle is present in this region, and that is called as a vagal triangle. The vagal triangle, it overlies the, the nucleus, and that is the dorsal motor nucleus of the vagus nerve. And just lateral to this triangle and this lateral border, there is an area, right? This the tongue-like area over here present between the vestibular nucleus and this lower, border of the fourth ventricle, and that is called the area postrema, right? Which is basically responsible for your vomiting reflexy. Okay? Okay. Now at the lower end, you see at the junction where this fourth ventricle is going to drain into the central canal. Okay? And this opening, this at this point over here, which is going to be continuous central canal, and this is the crescent shape or the triangular shape depression in this region. This is called as the opex, right? So this is all about the medulla oblongata.